Hello, hey guys, welcome back to another video on the Flow of Consciousness YouTube channel. My name is Wolf, and today I will be talking about love and fear, because love and fear in a dualistic worldview, they are polar opposites, right? They're both ends on a spectrum, on a scale. On the one side you have fear, on the other side you have love, and you can always move between the two opposites. And when you start to think in a more holistic way, you can understand that love comes out the other end and it starts again at fear. So it comes full circle. But these are ideas that I'm still exploring for myself, which are difficult to grapple with. So I want to use the idea of the spectrum where you have fear and love on both sides, right? To make things easier to digest. Now, why do I want to talk about love versus fear? Actually, I want to keep this video quite practical in a way, because I believe that you always have a choice between choosing love and choosing fear. And whenever you find yourself in a difficult situation, you have a choice. You can choose love or you can choose fear. And this is a mantra that I like to use for myself whenever I find myself in a situation that has higher stakes. For example, you are talking with your family member, your mother, your father, your loved one, or a very, very good friend, and the conversations gets heated, right? Usually, whenever that happens, we tend to slip into maybe an argument or a discussion which is not necessarily productive anymore. Both people feel hurt, they feel scared, they think that the other person is trying to attack them or trying to hurt them, so they're trying to protect themselves, right? And in that moment, you can then have the choice to choose fear, which will probably mean trying to hurt the other person, shutting down, not replying to what they're saying, taking things personally, etc., etc. Or you can choose love, and you can, for example, share your fear. You can say, hey, I'm actually very afraid that this and this and this might happen. I want to understand you. How can I do that? You can then choose love, and love is moving away from fear. And it requires a certain level of awareness to know that, okay, right now I am afraid and I'm actually trying to avoid that fear. I'm trying to move away from that fear by hurting the other person, by shutting down, by fight, flight, or fawn. Excuse me. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, right? Sorry. Fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. One of these reactions, they usually are caused by a tremendous amount of fear and you being unable to cope with that fear, right? So why do I say this? I think it's, for my personal life, a very useful tool to use in conversations. To, whenever I feel like the conversation is starting to get heated, whenever it is a challenging conversation with someone, this mantra, I like to apply this mantra to myself. Do I want to choose love? Do I want to choose fear? And you can even share this mantra with your conversational partner. You can ask him or her, okay, right now I feel like we are in a very tense conversation, a very tense discussion. I want to ask a question. Do you want to choose love or do you want to choose fear? And if you can both consciously choose love, if you both are aware that, yes, we are now acting from fear, let's choose love, then you can move to a higher level in the conversation. You can understand that we both want to choose love. We both want to collaborate instead of competition, instead of fighting, instead of competition. You can choose to collaborate. When you both choose love, then you're on the both side. You're on the same path. You're on the same wavelength, and you want to make things better, right? If you both choose fear, well, then you're actually moving both the opposite direction, and you will not solve the situation. So it's important to be clear that, first of all, you want to be aware that you are acting from fear, so you want to be aware of your fears. This requires a certain level of awareness. I highly recommend you try meditation for that, in order to really get a handle on the quality of your feelings, to notice yourself whenever you're acting from fear, whenever you're lashing out. It requires enough awareness to not act subconsciously in an automatic manner, in a knee-jerk reaction, in a knee-jerk way, right? So this awareness is crucial. I cannot stress this enough. Cultivate your awareness. It's a skill. Then, in conversations with people, when they are turning into arguments, when they are turning into very tense situations, you want to ask yourself, do I want to choose love or do I want to choose fear? And you can, like I said earlier, ask your conversational partner to do the same. And as you do that, as you practice becoming more aware, you will be able to choose more consciously the path of love. If you choose to do so, because sometimes you choose the path of fear, which is fine. You don't have to judge yourself for that. You don't have to feel guilty because sometimes you're so afraid that you choose the path of fear that you choose fear. This is crucial part of integrating this practical technique, this conversational skill. It's very important that you don't add a layer of shame to whenever you choose fear. You can always apologize afterwards. And I'm not saying that, oh, you should choose fear and then, oh, you can fix everything by apologizing afterwards. That's not what I'm saying. Because you can apologize like fakely when you don't actually mean it. However, if you understand, okay, right now I chose fear because I'm just so afraid, it's okay to sometimes be so afraid that you choose fear, that you feel unable to choose love. You can always course correct later on, right? So forgive yourself if you decide to choose fear. It's okay. Try to work on improving that. Try to work on realizing that, okay, I chose fear. Let me next time choose love. That way you will drastically increase your conversations with basically anyone. And a slight alternative for this mantra, do I want to choose love, do I want to choose fear? This mantra, you can apply it in any situation basically, where you feel afraid of starting to create something that you have been wanting to create since forever, whether you're afraid of taking a class or moving abroad or doing something that you know is right for you. In your heart you know that this is what I should be doing, but you're afraid. Then you can ask yourself, do I want to choose love, do I want to choose fear? And if you decide to choose love, then you can be kind and compassionate with yourself and go ahead and do it and recognize how brave you are for doing that, right? And so a slight alternative way of framing this in a conversational setting I like to use for myself, because if you have different mantras, different tools in your head, sometimes you don't think of one particular one, and if you have many, you can draw from them almost like instinctively, almost like immediately. So the more of these tools I have in my toolbox, the easier it is for me to remember any in a situation that is high stakes, in a situation that is tense, right? And I want to share with you these tools so you can hopefully also apply them in your own life. So the second version of this statement is basically, do I choose to turn towards or to turn away from? Do I want to turn towards or do I want to turn away from? And this comes down to the same core principle, right? Turning towards is choosing love, turning away from is choosing fear. And in certain situations, the idea of do I want to turn towards or away from can be easier to remember, or it can be easier to apply, right? And same strategy goes for this statement. You can tell your conversational partner, hey, I can feel that the conversation is very tense right now, and I want to ask you a question. Do you want to turn towards me, towards us, towards the conversation, or do you want to turn away from? Do you want to protect yourself? Do you want to run away? And if the other person is open to discuss this, then they can share their fears, they can share that they feel the urge to turn away from, and that maybe they don't want to, but they're just afraid, etc., etc. And that way you can really solve a situation that would otherwise totally derail, that would maybe blow up, because you both are not aware that you're choosing fear, that you're choosing to turn away from each other. And this can cause so much more hurt than it would if you would actually call it out, and if you had actually asked each other, do we want to choose love or do we want to choose fear? Do we want to choose to turn towards to each other, or do we want to choose to turn away from? And these are two very useful ideas to keep in the back of your mind, and it requires practice. Again, it's a skill, you know. The first time you will apply it, maybe it will not be perfect, maybe you will not even think about it, but maybe you will become aware that you didn't think about it, and then you can start to become aware of using it in your conversations, right? So it's a skill. Give yourself the time, be patient with it. It took me many years to learn these things, to apply these things, to practice these things. So allow yourself the time to learn this. And even if you can make yourself just a tiny little bit more aware each and every day, this will have a huge impact on how aware you are 1 year, 2 year, 5 years down the line. And you will thank yourself for practicing these techniques, for applying these tips, for increasing your awareness, for practicing your mindfulness, because you will see that you will have so much less painful conversations with people. And of course, sometimes not necessarily so much less painful conversations, so much more conscious conversations where you avoid causing harm to each other because you're acting from subconscious systems, unaware wounds and traumas that are speaking, you know. As a child, you had many experiences, and they become these knots in your system, and then when a conversation triggers certain things, I have videos about emotional triggers, trigger reactions, trauma reactions. They come out, they erupt, and when you cultivate a level of awareness around these triggers, around these reactions, you can create the space to choose consciously, and then you want to choose love, then you want to choose to turn towards. And the more of these metaphors you can hold in your head, the easier it will be to choose love, because ultimately that's what you want. Ultimately, that's what you want. You want to choose love. You don't want to be afraid. You don't want to be small. Choosing love is choosing to be large. It's choosing to be strong. It's choosing to be compassionate. It's choosing to be brave. It's choosing to be good in a sense, right? It's choosing to move towards your larger self, your higher self, your larger purpose. And these are more esoteric terms. However, it's what we all want. We want to move closer to love. I recorded another video about this. We all want to get closer to love, to God. And I really believe that this is the case. And by choosing fear, we are actually moving away from. And it's painful. We know it. Deep inside, we know that when we choose fear, we were not brave enough. We were not able to move towards our higher selves. And it's okay. It's not a bad thing, because you can learn compassion through fear. You can learn lots of different other important things through choosing the path of fear sometimes. Forgive yourself. Forgiveness. You can learn forgiveness through that. And the more you learn to forgive yourself, the easier it becomes to forgive others. Right? So it's what does it mean to choose love? Well, that's why, for example, choosing to move towards, choosing to turn towards can be useful in certain specific situations when you don't really know what does it mean to choose love. Turn towards. Don't turn your back. Don't shut down. Turn towards. Open up. Allow the other person to reach you. Don't close. Allow the other person to share with you their fears, and allow yourself to share your fears with them, right? So in certain situations, this mantra can be useful. Now, what does it mean to choose love? In any situation, right? It means to choose to honor your true self, your true inner self, your authentic core, your intuition. You know, these are the things that you honor when you're choosing love, and you're actually abandoning yourself when you choose fear. When you're choosing fear consistently, you're consistently abandoning yourself. And this might be caused by old wounds, trauma, limiting beliefs. Most of them are just caused by limiting beliefs because you believe, I'm not worthy to be loved. I am not worthy to be successful. I'm not worthy to get the attention of people that I love, you know? And becoming aware of these beliefs will allow you to uncover the fears. the fears that are behind them. Because usually when we have a limiting belief like I'm not worthy, the fear is that, am I? Because we question it. We don't want to believe that we are unworthy. Even though we believe it, we also hope that it's not the case. But we are looking for, the confirmation bias looks for ways to confirm the belief that we are unworthy. So when we choose fear, we kind of confirm the fact that we are unworthy because we act in a way that we are unworthy, right? So you want to address those underlying limiting beliefs where we think that we are unworthy. What if, just assume, maybe suppose, maybe just even consider the fact that you are worthy. You are worthy for love. You're worthy to be successful. You're worthy to be appreciated. What if you consider this notion, entertain it, and then try to act accordingly? Try to act from that perspective. And at first it will feel so strange and so weird and so against your nature. I'm not like this. I'm not a person who is worthy of love. It's so backwards. It's so strange once you start to realize that there is so much resistance to acting as if you love yourself, as if you value yourself, as if you're worthy. If you understand this, it will really absolutely change your life. And you have to push through the initial resistance. You have to push through the initial resistance of feeling that this is not me. I'm not a person who appreciates myself. How silly that sounds, right? And then after you start to do it more, you start to understand, hey, wait a minute. I am actually worthy of doing the things that I want. I actually am worthy of choosing love. You are worthy of choosing love. And you're also worthy of being loved. Not only by other people, by yourself. And then choosing love yourself shows that you love yourself, that you value yourself, that you appreciate yourself. And another layer on top of that is whenever you choose fear, forgive yourself for that. Don't put a layer of shame on top of it. You want to forgive yourself for making mistakes. You want to forgive yourself for choosing fear sometimes, because that also is choosing love. That also is appreciating yourself, honoring yourself. Forgiveness is such a powerful tool. You want to cultivate that. You really want to cultivate forgiveness, compassion, understanding. Realize that, yes, sometimes I was acting from a place of fear, and that's okay. I forgive myself for that. Because when you can forgive yourself for doing these things, you can forgive the other for doing the same, because you understand where it's coming from. You understand that it's rooted in fear and that you were just so overwhelmed by it that you were unable to choose love in that moment. And that's okay. Learn, improve, choose love more and more and more often. And you will see that eventually it will become easier. And not always. Of course, there's going to be situations where it's going to be very difficult and where you still want to choose fear so bad. But the more aware you are, the more choice you have, the more power you can exercise, the more control, and not in a negative, rigid way control, more like in a let go control, where you understand, okay, I have the choice to choose fear right now. I'm aware that I can choose it. I can also choose love. I'm aware of both choices. I'm aware of both possibilities. And now I created the space, and now I can consciously decide. And the more you practice this, the easier it will become to choose love, and the easier it will become to forgive yourself when you choose fear. And on that note, I want to end this video, and I want to thank you for being brave. This is important work, guys. This is crucial. I believe that even if there's one thing you could do, is to become aware of when you choose love and when you choose fear, and you increase the amounts of time you choose love, that this will transform the world. It will transform your own life, your loved one's life, your society's lives. Everybody's lives will be profoundly impacted by this skill alone. So that's why I want to stress the importance of it. So I want to thank you for working on yourself, for really putting in the time to learn about these things, to look for answers. It's important. You're doing a great job. You're changing the world. You're changing yourself, and you're changing the world. And I want to thank you for that. I appreciate you for doing that. I really do. I mean it when I say it. I appreciate you for doing this. And I want to thank you for looking inwards, for making yourself a better place one step at a time, and thus the world a better place one step at a time. And as always, thank you for watching, guys. Talk soon.